Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan, GCFR, BNER, GCON is a Nigerian politician who has been President of Nigeria since 2010. Prior to his role as President, he served as Governor of Bayelsa State from 2005 to 2007 and as Vice President of Nigeria from 2007 to 2010. Jonathan is a member of the ruling People's Democratic Party. Early and personal life: Jonathan was born in what is now Bayelsa State to a family of canoe makers. Jonathan holds a BSc degree in zoology in which he attained second-class honors. He holds an MSc degree in hydrobiology and fisheries biology, and a PhD degree in zoology from the University of Port Harcourt. Before he entered politics in 1998, he worked as an education inspector, lecturer, and environmental protection officer. Jonathan and his wife Patience have 2 children. He is a Christian, and he comes from the Ijaw ethnic group. In 2007, President Jonathan declared his assets worth a total of ₦295,304,420 naira. Presidency, Order of Succession. In accordance with the Order of Succession in the Nigerian Constitution following President Umaru Yar'Adua's death on May 5, 2010, Vice President Goodluck Jonathan was sworn in as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on May 6, 2010, becoming Nigeria's 14th head of state. He cited anti-corruption, power and electoral reforms as focuses of his administration. He stated that he came to office under very sad and unusual circumstances. On May 18, 2010, the National Assembly approved Jonathan's nomination of former Kaduna State Governor, Nnamdi Sambo, for the position of Vice President. Facebook launch. On June 29, 2010, President Jonathan launched the first Nigerian president's Facebook page. He stated that this action was part of fulfilling a promise he had made earlier to interact more with Nigerians. 2011 Presidential Campaign and Elections. On September 15, 2010, Jonathan announced on the social media website, Facebook, that he had decided to run for his first ever political election to hold public office as President of Nigeria in 2011. In the contest for the People's Democratic Party nomination, Goodluck Jonathan was up against the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Mrs. Sarah Jubal. On January 13, 2011, the primary election results were announced in Eagle Square, Abuja, with victory in 2/3 of the states of the federation counted, and Jonathan was declared winner. For the general election in 2011, Jonathan and Vice President Sambo attended political events and traveled the country to campaign for the nation's highest office. Jonathan won the general election against General Muhammad Buhari in New Ribadu with 59% of the votes. On April 18, Jonathan was declared the winner of the election. Major initiatives. Roadmap for Power Sector Reform. On August 2, 2010, Jonathan launched his Roadmap for Power Sector Reform (Euro). Its primary goal was to achieve stable electricity in Nigeria. The Nigerian power sector has been historically plagued by blackouts. Economists estimate that the power outages cost Nigeria, Africa's second biggest economy, billions of dollars on imported diesel for generators and in lost output. Jonathan has been overseeing the privatization of his country's power sector, the end goal being an efficient and reliable power supply for the Nigerian population. The Power Holding Company of Nigeria, which acted as the state electricity provider, has been broken up into 15 firms, with Nigeria handing over control of state electricity assets to 15 private bidding companies. The Nigerian government contracted the services of CPCS Transcom Limited, a Canada-based consulting firm specializing in transportation and energy infrastructure projects, to act as the transaction advisor for the handover of state electricity assets. Youth Enterprise with Innovation in Nigeria. On October 11, 2011, President Jonathan launched a Youth Enterprise with Innovation in Nigeria initiative, which he stated was an innovative business plan competition that harnesses the creative energies of young people between the ages of 18 and 35. The YOIN initiative is expected to create between 40,000 to 50,000 sustainable jobs by 2014. Transformation Agenda. In 2011, President Jonathan launched the Transformation Agenda. The Transformation Agenda is based on a summary of how the federal government hopes to deliver projects, programs, and key priority policies, from 2011 to 2015 coordinated by the National Planning Commission. On September 11, 2013, President Jonathan sacked the creator and coordinator of the Transformation Agenda, Shamsuddin Usman, the Minister of National Planning. He was sacked along with 8 other cabinet ministers amid a rift in the People's Democratic Party. Foreign policy. According to President Jonathan, Nigeria's foreign policy was reviewed to reflect a Euro-OE citizen focus at a Euro foreign policy designed to a Euro-OE chord this vision of defending the dignity of humanity the highest priority, and connect foreign policy to domestic policy while placing a greater emphasis on economic diplomacy. Acting President. On February 9, 2010, a motion from the Nigerian Senate confirmed the powers to Goodluck Jonathan to act as President of the Federation because President Yar'Adua went for medical treatment in Saudi Arabia in November 2009. On February 10, 2010, during his first day as acting president, Jonathan announced a minor cabinet reshuffle. Prince Adetokunbo Odi, who was the Labour minister, was named Minister of Justice, to replace Mr. Mike Ndokar. Ndokar was named as the Minister of Special Duties, and his counterpart Ibrahim Kazay, was named Minister of Labour. Acting President Jonathan also promised to continue implementing the 7-point agenda policy framework of President Umaru Musa Yara Euro unregistered trademark Adua. Vice Presidency. As Vice President, Jonathan took on a very low profile while recognizing the constitutional limits of the Vice President office. He participated in cabinet meetings and, by statute, membership in the National Security Council, the National Defense Council, Federal Executive Council, and the Chairman of National Economic Council. Vice President Jonathan was instrumental in negotiating an agreement with many of the major militant groups in the Niger Delta, who are mostly his fellow Ajaws, to lay down their weapons and stop fighting as part of a government amnesty. Governor of Bayelsa. On December 9, 2005, Jonathan, who was deputy governor at the time, was sworn in as Governor of Bayelsa State upon the impeachment of the current Governor Ebele Azikiwe by the Bayelsa State Assembly after being charged with money laundering in the United Kingdom. In September 2006, Jonathan was marred by the indictment of his wife by the nation's anti-crime agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, for crimes related to money laundering. Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State. On May 29, 1999, Jonathan was sworn in as Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State alongside Ebele Azikiwe, who was sworn in as the Governor of the state on the platform of PDP. Jonathan served as Deputy Governor until December 2005. Lead poisoning outbreak. In January 2013, Jonathan reportedly promised $4 million to assist in cleaning up villages that have been affected by a lead poisoning outbreak. Over 400 children have died and Human Rights Watch said that releasing the funds Euro could be life-saving for countless children. Euro controversies. World Cup 2010. In 2010, after the Nigerian football team failed to progress beyond the group stage at FIFA World Cup in South Africa, Jonathan declared a 2-year ban on the country's national football team from all international competitions. FIFA, the world football governing body, objected and stated that it would expel Nigeria from world football if the government interfered. Subsequently, Jonathan bowed to pressure and lifted the ban. Removal of fuel subsidy. Main article, Occupy Nigeria. On December 13, 2011, the 2012 fiscal year's budget removed any provisions for the existing fuel subsidy. According to a poll carried out by the Alliance for Credible Elections, 80% of Nigerians opposed the plan to remove the fuel subsidy. On January 1, 2012, the Jonathan administration announced the start of a controversial plan to end fuel subsidies. Many prominent Nigerians spoke out against the removal of fuel subsidy by the Jonathan administration. Former Petroleum Minister Professor Tam David West has spoken out and expressed concern that the planned removal of the fuel subsidy will squeeze the economy, increase inflation, and hurt both businesses and the public. A former military head of state and a former Minister for Petroleum and Natural Resources, General Buhari, urged President Jonathan not to remove the fuel subsidy and to tackle corruption. General Yakubu Gowon, another former military head of state, warned the government that the country's infrastructure should be revived before fuel subsidy removal steps were taken. Former military President General Ibrahim Babangida joined millions of Nigerians protesting against the removal of the fuel subsidy by the Jonathan administration, saying that the action is ill-timed. Following the Nigeria Labour Congress warning that the country faces many strikes, the country unions followed up with strikes that were matched with civil protests from January 13, 2012. Protesters and groups called for President Jonathan to resign over the removal of fuel subsidies. After 5 days of national protests and strikes, on January 16, Jonathan announced that the pump price of petroleum would be 97 naira per litre as against the 147 naira the planned government's removal of subsidies would have taken the price to. October 1, 2010 Independence Day bomb blast. During his South African magistrate court trial on May 2, 2012, MEN's former leader Henry Oka came out and insisted that President Jonathan masterminded the 1 October 2010 Independence Day bomb attacks. He told the court that President Jonathan and his aides organized the attacks in Abuja in a desperate political strategy to demonize political opponents, including the former military President General Ibrahim Babangida, and to win popular sympathy ahead of the 2011 elections. The Nigerian presidency has denied the allegations of terrorism leveled against President Jonathan. A media statement was issued on May 2, 2012, acknowledging the accusations from Oka. The statement went on to say that, the presidency categorically affirms that these allegations are false in their entirety and without any factual foundation. The presidency also expressed no interest in commenting further for the time being, but planned to make a full representation on the matter to the court when the trial opens. Renaming of the University of Lagos. In May 2012, President Jonathan changed the name of the University of Lagos to the Mashood Ebele University in honor of the late MKO Abiola. The action drew attention from critics. Among them were pro-Abiola advocates and parties involved with the university. Some critics cited that the president did not submit an appropriate bill to the legislature for the change. That the university's brand name should not be tampered with. The Unilag Alumni Association commented that although they do not have prejudice against MKO Abiola, they were concerned that neither the governing council nor the university senate nor any other stakeholder was consulted before the change was announced. Bola Tinubu congratulated Jonathan for taking action, but urged him to do it right, adding that we must be careful not to localize or sectionalize MKO. The president has attempted to regularize the renaming of the school by submitting a bill for an amendment of the university's establishing law to the legislature. Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act. In January 2014, Jonathan signed into law the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act after it was passed by the Senate and House of Representatives. The law prohibits gay relationships, membership and other involvement in gay societies and organizations and gay marriages. Penalties can be up to 14 years in prison for gay marriages and up to 10 years for other violations of the law. Within a short period, the Federal Police Department compiled a list of 168 gay people who would subsequently be jailed. Within days, 38 lesbian and gay people were already jailed, with arrests beginning during Christmas. The anti-LGBT bill stipulates that those who withhold the details of LGBT individuals face prison terms of up to 5 years. Security challenges. On August 26, 2011, after the UN building in Abuja was bombed by Boko Haram, Jonathan announced that it was not merely an attack on Nigeria, but on the international community. He told reporters that we would work together with the UN and other world leaders to ensure that terrorism is brought under control. In response to the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta's attack on an oil pipeline on February 4, 2012 in Bayelsa, the Senate President David Mark stated that the security situation in the country is intolerable. On May 14, 2013, Jonathan declared a state of emergency in 3 northeastern Nigerian states, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa to curtail the activities of Boko Haram. Although initially offering amnesty, by June 2013 he ordered for 20-year jail terms for anyone found to be in support of Boko Haram. On January 16, 2014, It was reported that Jonathan had sacked his military high command in response to their inability to end the Islamist-led insurgency in northern Nigeria. Jonathan's administration has been pressured to bring back the over 200 schoolgirls abducted by Boko Haram. There have been several demonstrations calling for the government to be more responsive, and Jonathan has asked that demonstrators focus on blaming Boko Haram itself for the abductions. Jonathan at one stage signaled his government would do a prisoner release in exchange for the kidnapped girls. However, after discussions in Paris with foreign ministers from France, Britain, the United States and Israel, he called off the exchange at the last minute on May 24, 2014 after he agreed no deals should be struck with terrorists. The about-turn reportedly enraged Boko Haram leaders. References. Further reading, Aode, John A., and Adewa A. Akinsanya, eds. Nigeria's Critical Election, 2011.